AI agents are interesting. We're at a weird place with AI, and I don't think that agents or AI is going away, but in the claims and the hype that we're seeing right now around all of this is just insane. My name's Andrew. I'm a software engineer, and I have been building AI products for a while, and I'm currently working on Agent Message, which is an SMS platform for AI. So AI agents, if you don't know what they are, I mean, if you're watching this video, I assume you know what they are, but it's pretty much just a loop or a harness for a large language model that lets it kind of act beyond just the prompt you type it and its response. And really how it works is you've got like your brain, which is the large language model, whether that's Opus 4.8 now or GPT 5.5 or whatever. And so you pretty much just create a system that sends the context of what the agent is doing to the large language model, and the large language model responds, whether that's text output or calling a tool, which is just JSON that says, it calls a tool send text with the information it wants in the text to the phone number it wants to send it to, and then your system or your tool would just take that, parse that info and make it happen. And then when that does happen, you take the response, whether that's a 200 success message or whatever, and send that back to the AI agent so it knows, hey, here was the result of your action. And you pretty much just loop that, where you've got different tiers in your context history, which is like developer, system, user, assistant, which is what the agent output. So it can see, hey, I said this, the user said this, I called this tool, and then this happened. And it just happens on a loop in perpetuity. And you can trim its context, try to save on tokens so it forgets things, or you can just let it go and go and go and have each decision it makes get infinitely more expensive. Now, it's a really cool thing. I really like this. I enjoy it. I think there's a lot of use case for it. I myself have built a lot of AI agent tools and products. Notably, one we built had 4,000 something agents running each in their own Kubernetes pod. So I'm very familiar with building them, how to build them, and what they're good at and what they're not good at. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is just the hype train, the never-ending hype train about AI, and that it can do everything and it's going to take everyone's jobs, and it can do it's AI agents for this and AI agents for that, and AI agents running 24/7 doing whatever they want. I kind of think that's all hype. There are specific use cases for agents where they're really useful, but they're not the end all be all. They're not, we've achieved semi AGI. We have this thing that does a task and it does it well because it doesn't need to be deterministic. We can add a degree of, should it be A, B, C, D, or E? And if it shouldn't be any of those, what should it be? And we can just prompt a large language model to fill that in for us rather than needing to write code that says, what does the user need? And, if this, then that on every single stage. So for things like customer service, even just filling out an order, vetting a lead, offering assistance on a tool, taking mobile orders at a coffee shop over the phone, stuff like that. There are real use cases for these, and I think it's awesome. I think it's a really cool tool. I don't think it's going away, but this idea that you can just create these autonomous beings that just go is far-fetched, and at least in how it actually plays out in practice. Part of that is the fault of the large language model, where actually, even though these things are supposed to be really ambiguous and good with detail, they're kind of repetitive and make the same decisions. There's a study that I think it was Harvard or MIT did recently that I saw Mo make a video on about this concept that LLMs, regardless of the prompt or question, are very much likely to answer in what is trending or what is popular right now. And that's just a consequence of how these models are trained. And so when you have that running in an agentic framework where it is allowed to make decisions and do things, in practice, it can actually be pretty hard for the model to to act like a human or just say, hey, what do you think we should do here? Because when that plays out at scale, you tend to see trends. Like for one of these things we were building, the agents were negotiating cars, and the models, even with completely different cars, different system prompts, different contexts, would do and say the same things, where its opening message, even though we didn't over prompt it on how to open its first email, was the same. They read the same layout. I mean, this is how people could pick up on whether or not something was written by ChatGPT. It's because these unspoken rules are built into these models that play out in how they behave when it's writing. It's like when it's writing a sentence, the M dashes, or it's not this, it's that. It's not this, it's that. Like there are these things and how these models perform that it's really hard to prompt out of them. And because of that, you lose the ability for the agent to be meaningful in a way that a human could be, where we have the ability to understand the greater context of this issue, of this exact scenario, a problem at work, a bug in the code, why a decision got made. These models tend to kind of just replicate that. They replicate what they've been trained on and tend to make decisions in a certain way. And even with these negotiation agents that we were building, it was actually pretty difficult for us to get the model to just kind of roll with it. Like it felt, even when we didn't prompt it at all or told it to be really open and all over the place and do whatever you want and just kind of, hey, here's the goal, like here's this little guideline, but just interact with them. It felt like he was responding the same way every time. And the way that we solved that was, one, better models coming out, and so they got a little bit better and a little bit more ambiguous and better at just communicating and paying attention to the details, was just over prompting it, was saying, if this, then that, and if this happens, then do this, and don't say this, but say this, and don't say this, and say that, and don't do this, but do that. And through enough of that, we ended up getting really good agents that did a pretty good job at doing what their task was. But the reason I bring that up is this idea that agents can just do everything. I don't think that's true, at least not in any meaningful way where you can just create an agent that just does stuff. Like these agents should be created with tasks in mind around a specific goal to do something that simply writing code to solve this task like a chatbot wouldn't cut it. It wouldn't have enough of that decision making that large language models are able to provide. So I don't think agents are going away, but I don't think that they're going to be replacing everyone's jobs and that they're going to just be the end all be all, because the other thing is they innately don't have memory. They're not able to just remember everything. If you're starting a fresh conversation with no context on something like Claude Code, it's importing, maybe like your memory markdown file, but it typically has to reread your entire code base, or at least the section that you're working on, before it can give you an answer, because it doesn't have memory. The memory for agents, whether it's Claude Code, Cursor, something you're building custom, a chatbot, is only what it's being given. And these tokens are expensive, and they're getting even more expensive, and they're extremely subsidized. And so they're not capable, like if you're going to have a long running agent that's running for days or weeks or months at a time, you have to be trimming context and summarizing what has happened up to this point, which is good and useful. And there are things like RAG and other methods of retrieving context where it needs the explicitness. But at the end of the day, summarization, or the model only being able to pull that detail when it thinks it needs that detail, is a limiting factor, where the size of these models, or the size of this agent's context, just makes it either so expensive that it can't do anything, or there's so much context there that the model's ability to make decisions is hindered. I don't sell that to be like AI agents suck and they should never exist. I say that to be like, these should be agents. When we think of agents and building agents, they should be task focused assistants that do one thing or two things really well. It should be this piece of the puzzle that helps a workflow along. It's not the entire workflow. It should be something that talks to the user and figures out what they need to then get them in front of a person. It's not going to completely replace every single customer service person at your job. It should be an assistant to help me debug a code base because I'm lazy and don't feel like doing it myself. It shouldn't be something that just does everything for you. And I think that's the problem with vibe coding and with all of these agentic tools, is when you try to give the entire responsibility of the outcome to the agent or the large language model, you lose the expertise and the humanness and the decision making that actually makes building these products amazing and what makes us good at our job. I mean, we've seen this over and over the last few weeks with companies, dropping their LLM usage, their tokens costing more than the humans that they replaced, that they're cutting back, and that this who can spend the most tokens thing is dying. I think that's part of it, is that where these AI psychosis CEOs are starting to understand, oh, this is a tool and nothing more. AI agents they're tools, they're assistants, they're helpers. They're not here to do everything, but they can do certain things really well. And it's really cool. The fact that I can let Claude rip through my code base and just tell me, oh yeah, it's right here, and I can just say, oh, I forgot about that, instead of having to dig through it, is great. I don't think it's a replacement for engineering. I don't think it's a replacement for customer service, but I think it's a thing that can make them better, that can make us faster and better at our jobs, and can be helpful. Granted that token costs don't go up 10 times, which is probably what they should be if nothing was being subsidized. All that to say, we're at an interesting place with agents, and if you want to give your agent a phone number, check out Agent Message. I don't think agents are dying. I just think this hype is crazy.